now time to review headlines on today's newspapers with Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Welcome to the show, Mr. Komolafe.
Good morning.
Okay,
good morning, Mr. Komolafe. I just want to say something. Abby, it's the first time we're hosting together.
That's very true.
You are fantastic.
And it's been exciting so far. Thank you.
That is great.
I echo your thoughts.
That is great.
And by the way, it's just KK, right? It's just
KK. Welcome to the show, KK.
Thank you for that.
Is it really just KK?
Just KK.
Well, thank you, Ombudsman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go straight into the newspaper review, and we'll start, of course, as always, with This Day. On Sunday, the lead story says Obasanjo, most presidential aspirants should be in jail if Efcc, Icpc did their jobs. And the riders are also interesting. Says no region should claim monopoly of leadership. Former president is studying patriotism, leadership, courage, says Buhari. Jonathan Okoa, additional PDP, Northern governors felicitate with Obasanjo. On top of that story, we have an interesting story on page 8 that says, despite commitments to Buhari, House moves to block deletion of a section of Electoral Act. And then on top of the masthead, the strip, Kyari stands down keynote in U.S. summit in order to fix fuel scarcity. And on the window, Emefiele, Infraco to begin talks with federal government, Lagos, on expansion of Lekki-Epe Road infrastructure. Says Lagos free zone to decongest Apapa, Tinkan Island port. Insists CBN ready to support investors. And the last story, which will be found on page 64 of the paper, sanctions imposed on Russia equivalent to declaration of war, says Putin. The cover picture, of course, is about President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo's 85th birthday celebration. Those are the stories in today's This Day. KK, for your analysis, please.
Thank you, Steve. First, I think it would be in order to say to join others in saying congratulations to the former president, President Obasanjo, and to also say that birthdays are meant for eating cake and drinking wine and not throwing missiles. That is coming to the lead story.
He played football before throwing the missile.
Okay, yes, okay, before throwing the missile, saying that some of those people, most of those people who want to be Nigeria president should be in jail. Well, it is left for those he's referring to, even he hasn't named anybody to reply him, and I think it should not be a surprise if in the coming week, in the course of the week, you have a lot of missiles also being thrown in his direction instead of a bouquet and birthday cards, Yeah, but seriously speaking, I think occasions of birthday, especially for a former president,
yes, and an elder,
it should be an occasion for, for a deeper reflection, and especially for those who have had the privilege of leading this country. I think when they look back, they should be more sober and more humble, especially when they are addressing us, especially Obasanjo. Why I say that? Why I started saying that? Because especially himself, Obasanjo, because if you look at the post-colonial history of Nigeria, he's perhaps the luckiest politician ever. When he's really going, and his place, quite conspicuous. For him, of course, is. Tenor. There's a trilogy. My Watch. Which already documented. His achievements and all that things when he was in office. But of course, the verdict of history, still remained out there. What I'm saying that it should be more sober that because we are in this situation which we are in today. The shackles of underdevelopment or poverty, precisely because past leaders have not performed their duty, diligently in terms of advancing the development agenda, of the country. Because what we have today is the cumulative effect, of what they have done or what they have, failed to do. And that is why I think the past leaders, when they address us, they should be more sober and more, critical, to be self-critical, of what they have done, because of the lost opportunities, which people, which while they were in the saddle, they should have done, So because it's always, this culture of the benefit of hindsight, that you become wiser, after leaving power, and not when you are there, I think it's not fair enough to this, to the sensibilities of Nigeria, Like I said, what is important is, that we should join others in saying happy birthday to President Obasanjo, and to watch out if there will be a reply, to the missiles that he has taken the advantage of his birthday celebration to throw to others.
Well, if he has not mentioned anybody, why would anybody feel offended?
No. What I'm saying is, is the grandstanding. Yes, you've been president for 8 years.
That's true.
And you are not saying the ex-cathedra that most of those people who want to be president, that he should be in jail.
Yeah, but I think it would only be fair if he mentions the names, because it's like just throwing it open there.
What I'm even saying, that is not fair.
Yeah.
That is not fair to Nigeria.
Many of those.
Yes, and especially because it is debatable whether its own period in power can be called the golden age, of Nigeria. Yes, I'm saying that, the benefit of history is there.
Yes. The jury is still out.
The jury is still out, because there are quite a lot of things that, if, for instance, if he had, because he's talking of Efcc and Icpc performing their duty, if he had performed his duty diligently, there will not be in the problem in which we are today. Look at, the various sectors. Is it in public education? Is it in this energy question? Before he became president, we were importing fuel. After 8 years, after he left, we were still importing fuel, and today we are still importing fuel. Before he became president, we had this power problem, in Nigeria. After 8 years, even though, to his credit, he initiated the power sector reform, but we were left with the power situation which we have in it. Before he became president, ASU was going on strike for months. All throughout his 8 years, ASU was going on strike, and 8 years, several years after. So I'm just saying that, for people to, after leaving power, to be trotting all over the place and be grandstanding, it's not fair.
Maybe he's speaking to the moral character
what I'm
of
saying,
the candidates and not their capacity to govern.
What I'm saying is that if you take the whole speech, if you take the whole speech, what I'm saying is that it is not sober. You don't see any element of, deep reflection and self-criticism. That he is accountable. He also should be held responsible, partly, for why we are in this state today, And it's not just, just to be talking as if that all was well, while he was in power, Yes, he invited. What I'm saying that occasion of birthday should not be for throwing missiles to others. So if some missiles are directed in his direction during his birthday, I think it is quite justified.
Balanced.
Yes, the other very important stories on the front page of this day, which I think we should look at, for example, on a different note, I think it would be an act of extreme bad faith on the part of the House of Reps. Is being reported by this day, if they renege on the agreement which they have with the president before it's signed, that point, I think, the honorable thing to do, is for the honorable members of the House of Reps and also the Senator to keep to that agreement, before the president signed it. I think it's also commendable, the act of the GMD of NMPC, to say that it will not go for the conference in Houston, so that it will be able to have an oversight, what the fuel scarcity problem that we have. I think it's a demonstration of sensitivity, and I think public officials, should do that, because it could have been, I'm sure it could have generated criticism, that while we're having, the emergency more or less in the downstream sector, that the GMD of NFS are jetted to Texas to go and have a meeting. I think it's something positive.
All right,
Then,
KK, before okay, you still want to do one more story? I was thinking before we go to this start, we will need to go on a quick break.
Okay.
And when we return, we'll continue with the newspaper review. Do stay with us. You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News, and we're still on with the ombudsman of This Day Group and the Arise Media Group, KK. So before we go to Abby for this style, I think there's one more story that you need to quickly.
Yes, just quickly.
Yes,
that the declaration of Putin, at the weekend, that he will regard the increasing, sanctions, from the West, as an act of war. I think it should not be taken lightly, and that should reinforce the fact that at this stage, I think all the sides, to this dispute, in Ukraine, the war there, should explore more of, diplomatic, options to resolve the matter and to bring it, to an end. Because see, the West should learn from history. Because if you think that, you want to get Russia, frustrated, get Putin, frustrated, and then you pound and pound it. I mean, the consequences, especially that we are now talking of a nuclear power, could be, catastrophic, for the whole globe, and especially they should learn, what happened between the First World War and the Second World War. I mean, Germany lost the war, and the humiliation, the sanctions, continued, and until the First World War, until Hitler emerged, and you had the Second World War. I think it is necessary, for the world to learn a lot from history, and ensure that this crisis is brought to an end, especially because of the huge humanitarian cost. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, Abby, what do we have on the cover
absolutely.
of this?
Of course, I mean, unfortunately, transiting from such a dire situation to a very bold and colorful This Day cover, This Day style cover. Yeah. Firstly, I must say the editorial team have done a really amazing job here, because I've looked through this and the spread, a very bold editorial, and I wish the viewers could see this, but look how lovely that spread is.
I love that photo
very
shoot.
bold, African themed celebration of the International Women's Day against the backdrop of some of the issues that have transpired with Nigerian women over the last week, which we have been discussing earlier. It's quite ironic and unfortunate that we are celebrating this, but of course Nigerian women are marching and, stressing their agitations about some of the issues that actually do not support this cause. So that's what we have here. We also have, further into this, young female entrepreneurs we admire. And we have a few names here: Aurea Rusenwe, Bidemi Akande, a number of names, young Nigerian female entrepreneurs who, of course, are putting their best foot forward. Feet, rather.
It's your month, isn't it?
It is, and it's quite unfortunate, like Abby said, that, the lawmakers chose this month to drop that ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that huge discrimination we
bills.
spoke to Mary Ikoku about. I don't know if you paid attention to
Brilliant.
that conversation. Really brilliant woman.
Brilliant. Mary was quite brilliant, in articulating the cause of women, And I particularly noted the parallel, this drawing, between March 1 and March 8, that March 1, especially as far as the calendar of the Nigerian female gender is concerned, is regarded as a day of infamy, a day the National Assembly, decided to lay down, the female gender, and now having March 8 as the day internationally recognized, for reflection, on the condition of women, since Clara Zetkin, proposed the day, many decades ago,
Yeah.
And by the way, Clara Zetkin was a friend, to Lenin, the great, Russian, revolutionary, in Putin. But what is the topicality? I also agree, to the topicality of the cover of the style of this day. That this is the month of the female gender, and it is quite in order, to celebrate, with that colorful cover with it. But again, it's also a very chilling reminder of the fact that those issues, the gender issues, of the discrimination, the oppression, of the female gender, they still remain as evergreen,
That's true.
as they were, when many decades ago, the idea of March 8 being set aside every year, to reflect on the condition of the female gender.
An addendum to that, just a quick one on a good note, is that our own Leila Johnson-Salami won an award yesterday as part of the,
congratulations.
So
congratulations.
So we say, go wild, girl. I mean, congrats. Congrats to Leila.
That's a great one.
That's a good one. Okay, so
All right,
we go
let's
to
move over
Daily
to,
Trust.
Daily Trust. The lead story, banditry, inside the fire engulfing northern Nigeria. I mean, this comes right after, Nigeria had moved to 6th place in the latest global terrorism index.
Daily Trust.
This is the Daily
right?
Trust. If
Yes.
we have the Daily Trust up, can we have that?
Yes.
Yep.
We have
Right.
it.
The lead story again, inside the fire engulfing northern Nigeria. Riders there, how murder of Zamfara Fulani leader ignited reign of terror. Another rider there, gangs sack scores of villages, controlling dozens. 80% of our people's income source cut down, says the emir, Zamfara, I guess. It's a result of years of neglect and exploitation, experts say. Another story, there's a notorious bandit who's opened up about these menace that they've caused in the northern part of Nigeria. His name is Bello Turji. I guess we can read more on that on pages 40 and 41 of Daily Trust. Then we also have the story, 2023, most presidential aspirants should be in jail, says Obasanjo. We've covered that. I mean, it's going to be a resounding story across all the papers today. And then another story, Saudi Arabia lifts ban on direct flights from Nigeria. And then we will always we only have 2 minutes. I guess we can just quickly round up by talking about the amount of days the school children have been held in captivity. That's 246 days. Bethel Baptist High School children in Kajuma. I don't know if you want to quickly say something before we move over to another paper on any of these stories.
Let's take the Daily Trust first, quickly. Yeah. I think first, we should not miss the opportunity, of bringing, a reminder on the condition of those children, still in captivity. That you are now talking of 226 days.
246.
246 days, in captivity, and to express solidarity, with their parents, and their while reminding the Nigerian state that the responsibility, it is still the responsibility of the Nigerian state to liberate, these children. That it is not good news that you are having, children in captivity, for 246 days, and they are just there helplessly, and just at the mercy, of the criminals that are holding them. Related to that, incidentally, two of the stories on the front page of Daily Trust, we should be read together. The very exclusive interview with Toji Bello, the notorious leader, of bandits that are on the prowl in Zamfara State, as well as, the very thorough analysis, of banditry in Zamfara State. Now, one particular thing which I think we should take note about that story is that from that story it comes out that what you're having in Zamfara State is actually a Fulani rebellion. And Fulani rebellion against who? Against the Hausa. That is from what and that is also is reflected in the interview, in the interview with Toji Bello. This is quite instructive in the sense that, especially down here in the south, we use the category Fulani and Hausa interchangeably.
Yes, we do. And that's
in fact, some people even nebulously talk of Hausa Fulani. So when we talk of Fulani, you just think that you are also talking of the same people as Hausa. But here in Zamfara State now, you read all the complaints, virtually every answer to the questions posed to Toji Bello, he was talking of, addressing the Hausa that they have been oppressing them, they've been cheating them, they'll be putting them in a great disadvantage that because they claim to be more educated, and they are, and that what he's fighting for is that the Fulani, the Hausa, whether you are Fulani, Hausa, Yoruba, or this, that you should be treated, So that's very,
All right, okay. Unfortunately, we will have to run because we have, run out of time. So sorry. I'm sure next Sunday we'll do better with more papers.
Thank you very much.
See you next week.
Great to be here.